Now on problem number 10, I may run out of space. So I'm going to have a separate sheet of paper available. Okay, a triangle is equilateral if all three angles measure 60 degrees. Then we get angle measures, and the question, is triangle ABC an equilateral triangle? Why or why not? So my answer here is either yes or no, and my justification is going to be the measure of angle A equals, the measure of angle B equals, and the measure of angle C equals. If I get 60, 60, 60, then I will say yes. If I get any angle that is not equal to 60, I will say no, not equilateral. Okay, so we're dealing with a triangle. So we think about how many degrees in a triangle. We need to know that in a triangle we have a total of 180 degrees. And this equals angle A plus angle B plus angle C. So now we'll use the expressions that were given. So angle A equals x squared minus 4. Angle B equals 8x minus 4. Then angle C equals negative 3x plus 84. So we add the three angles, and then those three angles sum to equal 180 because all of the angles in a triangle sum to 180. Okay, so you can see we're going to deal with a quadratic. So we're going to need to put this in standard form. We're going to have it equal to 0 in order to try to solve it by factoring. If you were trying to solve using the quadratic equation or something like that, or quadratic formula, you would also need it equal to 0. So we have how much x squared? Just this 1x squared. Now how much x do we have? We don't have any x here. We have 8x here. We have negative 3x here. So when we add them, we get positive 5x. How much constant do we have? Minus 4. Minus 4 more is minus 8. And then minus 8 plus 84 is plus 76. That equals this 180. Now subtract 180 from both sides. 0 equals, and now be careful with this. 76 minus 180, this is 180, is minus 104. So now I see that my master product, A times C, is 1 times negative 104, which is negative 104. B, the sum, is positive 5. So I'm looking for numbers that will multiply to equal negative 104 and add to equal 5. So this is kind of tricky. Let your pencil do the talking. So break down 104. So when I look at 104, I can see that it will be divisible by 4 because I know 100 is divisible by 4, so then 4 more would also be divisible by 4. So I'm thinking about how 104 equals 4 times 26. But those are obviously not the numbers that I want because we can't add these and get anywhere close to 5. So I see that 26 is really 13 times 2. But that won't quite work because we need this to be a total of just 2 numbers, and now we have 3 numbers. But what if we take the 2 that was in the 26 and give it to the 4 instead? So now we have 13 over here and 8. And we should see that 8 plus 13, or rather, if we make one of these negative, then we can add them and it will equal positive 5. So we have 8 and 13, and which one should be positive? The 13 should be positive, the 8 should be negative, so they add to equal 5. So now I'll factor this. If you don't like this factoring by grouping, I will also provide access to videos that show factoring in a different way that you might like better. So this is x squared plus minus 8x plus 13x minus 104. So now I'll look at the first two terms, x squared minus 8x, and see what can I factor out. And I can only take out one x. If I divide by x here, then I have x times something equals x squared, so that's x. Then I have x times something equals minus 8x, that's minus 8. And you'll remember that if we do this correctly, we're going to get a matching x minus 8 over here. So now we look at the second two terms, and we think about what can we factor out as a common factor here. And 104 is kind of tricky to deal with, but you just figured out that 104 equals 8 times 13. So that means that 104 divides by 13, and that when we divide by 13, we're left with 8. So that means that 13 is our common factor. And I need to think about the sign that goes on 13. So I'm going to come back here and make sure I get this number, or this sign here. So if I take 13 out of 13x, I'm left with x. If I take 13 out of 104, I'm left with 8. And that's 13 times negative 8 is negative 104. So that means that this must be positive. So I have positive times positive is positive, and positive times negative is negative. I need this plus sign here, because this plus sign is telling me that one of my factors will be from the outside, x plus 13. Now from the inside, x minus 8. And these equal 0. So I can set x plus 13 equal to 0 and solve and get x equal negative 13, maybe. And x minus 8 equals 0, x equal 8, maybe. So now we have to take these question marks and resolve them. So let's try substituting x equal negative 13. If I bring that here, I'll have negative 13 times negative 13 is a positive number. That's positive 169. Minus 4 is positive 165. So we're okay over here. We could use x equal negative 13 for angle A. However, if we look at x equal negative 13 for angle B, we'll have negative 13 times 8 is negative 104. Then negative 104 minus 4 is negative 108. So because x equal negative 13 leads us to a negative value for the measure of angle B, we won't be able to use it, because we must have angle measures that are positive in a triangle. So now x equal 8 will work, or at least let's test it and see that it does work. So x equal 8, so here we have 8 times 8 is 64, 64 minus 4, this is 64 minus 4 equals 60. That was for angle A. Angle B, we have 8 times 8 is 64 minus 4 equals 60. Then angle C should equal 60. Let's just check. 8 times negative 3, negative 24. Negative 24 plus 84 is 60. So because all angles equal 60, we will say yes, triangle ABC is equilateral because all angles equal 60 degrees.